If you have any injuries or concerns about your general health, seek advice from a medical professional prior to commencing the class. Please know that you are in complete control of everything you do in this class. If you find the progressions too challenging, then just go back to the level that you feel comfortable with and confident that you are able to perform with control. If you're unsure about any of the movements, don't hesitate to get in touch on Instagram at Gemma Griffies or via email gemma@bodyrehabstudios.com. Thank you and enjoy.
Hi there, I'm Gemma. I'm a physiotherapist and a Pilates teacher. Most of the Pilates that I teach is from the APPI. So a lot of the exercises that we'll be doing today will be focusing on the breathing, the centering, the rib cage placement, shoulder blade placement, and head and neck. We'll be doing a lot of functional movement patterns with a focus on firing up the core and the stabilizing muscles. So we're going to start, as always, in standing. So start with your feet together, toes out to the side, and heels to follow. So your legs are parallel like train tracks and hip distance apart. I'm going to lengthen into the back of the neck. So imagine a helium balloon is pulling your head towards the ceiling or towards the sky. So we often spend a lot of our day like this, so we become quite short in the back of our neck. So we're going to create some space in that cervical area and lengthen into the back of the neck. Let's just focus on the breathing for a moment. Place your hands on your ribs and breathe in and out, feeling those hands expanding as the ribs come up and out. Feel that chest expansion as you breathe in, all the way down to the bottom parts of your lungs. And out. Good. Bring your attention down to your feet. So be aware of what you're standing on, the pad of the heel, the big toe, the little toe, standing on a little tripod on each foot. And think about that little gap in the center of your foot, lifting away from the ground. Imagine you've got a little goldfish hiding underneath there. Just going to take a moment, close your eyes, really go into your bodies, and just do a quick body scan. How do you feel? Are there any areas of tension that you want to work on today? Do you feel balanced? Do you feel symmetrical? And if you're comfortable, keep your eyes closed. We're just going to send the weight forwards and backwards. So feeling the fronts of the feet separating as you go forwards, and feel that tension at the back of your legs as you come backwards. Just be aware of those deep core muscles switching on as you challenge that center of gravity. And then find somewhere that's halfway in the middle. Maintain a little small micro bend of the knees. We're going to set our center. So we're going to find our neutral spine position. So if you imagine that your pelvis is a bucket of water, we're going to tip some water out of the front of the bucket and then some water out of the back. So keep moving through, exploring these two ranges of movement. You can have one hand here and here if that helps, to give yourself just a little bit of feedback there. And your neutral spine is a halfway point between the two. When you've found that, place your hands on your hip bones and come in 1 inch and down 1 inch and press. And then what you'll be able to feel there are your deep core muscles. Take a lovely deep breath in. As you breathe out, lift the pelvic floor. Imagine the pelvic floor is at the bottom of a 10-story lift. We're going to squeeze and hold and lift just to that 3rd floor in the building. Alternatively, imagine there's a piece of string attached from your tailbone to your pubic bone and a little bead on that string. We're going to move that bead forwards, or we're closing that gap between the two. Sometimes it feels better if you imagine your hip bones are like magnets, so we still have our hands on our hip bones, in 1 inch and down 1 inch. Lovely deep breath in, and imagine those hip bones are magnetic and they're just drawing towards each other. And you'll be aware of a tightening underneath your fingers. Not a strong pushing out, just a little bit of a subtle tightening. Let's try that again. So relax all of your tummy muscles. Imagine you've had a big roast dinner and nobody's looking. Take a lovely deep breath in. As you breathe out, lift the pelvic floor to that third floor in the building. Hold that there while you breathe in and out. Keep that switched on. Good, well done. Your ribs want to stay stacked over your hips. Imagine there's two springs connecting them together, and they're going to stay the same throughout. Keep your shoulders down away from your ears. Imagine a little weight is hanging down after each shoulder blade, pulling those shoulders down and remembering to lengthen into the back of the neck. Good, well done. So we're going to start by rolling the shoulder and then slide down one side, feeling a stretch down the other side. Restack the spine. Roll the other shoulder and slide down. Good, restack the spine back to the top. We're going to have a little peel forwards, peeling down. Nose down over chest, peel down. Just take your hands down your legs if you want to. And then restack bone by bone. Let's try that again. Roll one shoulder and slide. Restack. Roll the shoulder and slide. And then restack the spine. Little peel forwards. And then restack the spine. Let's join these exercises together. Let's warm up that spine and get stretched down those muscles at the back and down the side. Come forwards and then reset the spine. And then we roll and slide. Take that top shoulder down to the middle and reset the spine. Keep going. Starting to gain a little bit more movement, maybe speeding up a little bit. Last one. Good, fantastic, well done. We're going to reach one arm up and lean over. So gaining a little bit more of a stretch all the way down that side of the body. And then drop the arm down to the center. Reach the other arm up and lean over. Feeling a stretch down that side and then drop the arm down and then back to the beginning. Take a wider stance. So feet are pointing at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. We're going to direct the outside board of your feet down into the ground, thinking about that little tripod that we did at the beginning. Spiral the knees outwards, feeling that work into the hips, feeling that engagement into the glutes. And we're going to dip down and lengthen, just a little mini squat, feeling those glutes firing as you come back up, pressing through your heels as you come back up. Breathe in on the way down, out on the way up. Knees over toes. Starting to go a little bit deeper if you can. Feeling a little bit of a stretch in between those legs, sending those knees right over those toes. Thinking about keeping those direct outside borders of the feet directly into the ground so you're not coming inwards. Let's stay down there at the bottom. Really feel those glutes firing up and those thighs. We're going to pulse at the bottom. And then stay down there, hands out to the side and circle. And the other way. And then lower the arms, come up, give those legs a shake. We're going to turn to the side, feet hip distance apart, neutral spine of the pelvis. We're going to add a little knee bend forwards. And now lift the heels. Lengthen the legs and lower knee bend. Lift the heels, lengthen and lower. Keep going, keep that center engaged. Really feel the work of those deep core muscles working as you lift those knees and lengthen and lower. One more. And lower. Good, well done. Let's reverse it. Let's go up onto the toes now. Steady, knees bend, heels down and lengthen. If it's too much with the arms, then you can just pop them on your hips if you want to. Good, well done. Last one. Ooh. Good, excellent, fantastic work. Let's take the feet together again. Check we're in that neutral spine position. Rise up onto your toes. Take your hands to be level with your chest. Take one heel down. Take the same arm up. Take the opposite arm down. Good. We're going to bring those hands back to be level with your chest as you rise onto your toes. And then swap. Imagine that hand could come down and just swipe past that knee. Breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. So your entire spine is long and your back is straight. We're still in that neutral spine position. And your entire body is just bobbing up and down like a piece of toast in the toaster. Imagine you're walking down a narrow corridor. Well done. Float the arms down. Float the arms up towards the ceiling. And fold. Lift the shoulders up. Take the shoulders down. Reach up and float the arms down. Keep going. This is called corkscrew. It's a lovely exercise. I keep hitting these beautiful plants right above me. So just aim to keep the head and neck straight. We fold the hands behind the head. We lift the shoulders up. We take the shoulders down. Reach up and float the arms back down. Bring the elbows close to the waist with the palms facing the ceiling. Take the arms out and in. Good, well done. Add a little knee bend. Add a little knee bend. As you lengthen your arms, we're going to lift the heels up. So it's just back to what we were doing at the beginning, but we're just joining in with the arms this time, adding an extra challenge. Keep those ribs connected to the pelvis, so avoid arching into here like this. We're going to connect the ribs to the pelvis. Sorry, I had a little insect on my hand then. We disturbed his little nest up there or something. Float the arms down. Good. We're going to work into our backs a little bit more like we did at the beginning, but we're going to go a little bit further now. So we're going to start with our feet together, toes out to the side, heels to follow. Take a lovely deep breath in. And allow your nose to peel down over your chest and peel down bone by bone. Arms heavy, head heavy. Keeping the weight forwards. When you get down to the bottom, take a deep breath in. And then breathe out to uncurl the spine. Back up to the top. Take a breath in to prepare. Breathe out. Peel down bone by bone. Upper back. Middle back. Lower back. When you reach full flexion, rotate those hips and reach down towards the floor. Take a breath in. Breathe out, direct that tailbone down towards the ground and peel back up bone by bone, keeping those ribs tucked underneath, keeping those shoulders down when you get up to the top. Helium balloon head, keep going. Imagine your entire back, your vertebrae are a stack of bricks and each brick is going down over the one below. Breath in at the bottom and then breathe out to uncurl the spine. Keeping that weight forwards on your feet. Keeping the ribs tucked under. This time when you get to the bottom, pick up one heel and lower. Pick up the other heel and lower. Keep going, feeling a stretch all the way up the back of the leg that's straight down on the ground. Breath in at the bottom, reset the spine. Good, well done. This time we're going to go down into child pose. So take a breath in. And then breathe out to peel down. Soften the knees and come down onto the ground. Just into child pose there. Just taking a moment to breathe in, feeling that rib expansion as you breathe in. Feel that deflation as you breathe out. Aiming to get your bottom on your heels and your forehead on the floor. Thinking about that deep C-shaped curve of the back. So now we're going to start on our backs. So you need a small towel or a head cushion underneath your head. So the cushion is underneath your head and the neck is off. Take the feet together, knees bent up. Take the toes out to the side and the heels to follow. Keep the shoulders down away from the ears, reaching your fingers down towards your feet. We're just going to warm the head and the neck up to start off with. We're going to roll the head to the side. Breath in at the end and then breathe out to move back up to the top. Breath in, breath out. Keeping those shoulders down away from the ears. Taking a breath into pause. Breathing out to move. Now you can place your hands on your tummy. So if you can make a little diamond with your thumbs together, fingers together, thumbs in the belly button, fingers pointing down to the pubic bone. Imagine you have a clock drawn on your pelvis. We're going to point down to 12 and then point to 6. When you point to 12, feel that arch forming in your back. When you point to 6, feel all of your back in contact with the floor. So moving through those two extremes of movement. Really important to have an awareness of how to fine-tune the movement into our hips. Find that halfway point and then thinking about that clock, we have 3 on your right hip and 9 on your left hip. We're going to point down to 3, so the left hip comes up, the right hip goes down, and then we point to 9, so the right hip goes up and the left hip comes down. So we're just tilting from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, taking care to try and keep those knees perfectly still and the ribs perfectly still. Your hands can go down your side if you want to, and do feel free if you have a soft ball, a soft squidgy Pilates ball, you can put this underneath your sacrum for an extra challenge. Come back to that halfway point between the two, and now we're going to point to 12 and go all the way around the clock. So we're doing an exercise called pelvic clock. It's a great exercise to do if you wake up feeling a little bit stiff or you think you've overdone something. It's a lovely way to just relax all the muscles and get them working in the correct, coordinated way. And just take some time to focus on certain areas that may feel a little bit stiff or that don't move quite as fluidly as the other parts. And then when you get to 12, we're going to go back the opposite way. So if you've been going clockwise, you can now go anti-clockwise. Again, keeping the ribs still and keeping the knees perfectly still. We're going to find a halfway point between 12 and 6 and 3 and 9, and you should feel like there's a little gap in the small of your back. Imagine that you're just hovering over some chocolate mousse there. Let's float the arms up towards the ceiling and rotate the palms to face each other. Imagine you're holding a big ball. We're going to push that ball up towards the sky and then lower, keeping the elbows straight. Feeling the work from the shoulder blades. Feel those shoulder blades wrapping around the rib cage as you breathe. Reach up and then come down. Breathe in on the way up, and then breathing out as you control the movement all the way down, keeping that center engaged. Good, well done. This time we're going to float the arms over the head and then bring the arms back, taking care to keep those ribs perfectly still. Connect the ribs to the pelvis. Breathe out as you take those arms over your head and breathe in to return. If you want to and you have space, you can float the arms over your head and circle them back round to the beginning. Breathing out, breathing in. Good, well done. Just to check that neutral spine and the center's engaged, find that halfway point. Place those fingers on the hip bones like you did at the beginning. Come in 1 inch and down 1 inch and press. As you lift that pelvic floor, you should be aware of that little bit of a tightening just underneath your fingers there. We're going to keep that switched on throughout all of the exercises. Reach your hands down towards the ground now. We're going to start with a hip twist level 1. Let's float the knee out to the side and then draw it back in. Float the other knee out to the side and draw it back into the center. Breathing out to float the knee away. Breathing in to return. Keeping those hips perfectly still. Imagine that a tray of drinks is resting across those hips. Imagine that you have a little raspberry under each hip, so when you float the knee away, you're not going to crush any of those raspberries. Breathing out to float the knee away, breathing in to return. Float the arms up towards the ceiling, rotate the palms to face each other. When you take one knee out to the side, take the opposite arm out to the side, and return. Taking care to keep that knee that's not moving perfectly still. We're going to float the arms down. This time we're going to work on our one leg stretch. Great exercise if you want to do some walking or running. We're going to slide that leg along the floor and slide it back. Slide the other leg along the floor and slide it back. Breathing out to slide that leg away. Breathing in to return. Keeping those hips perfectly still. If you want to join in, we can bring the arms up towards the top so we can challenge the arms and the legs into our double leg stretch level 1. Breathing out. Breathing in, keeping the back perfectly still, staying in that neutral spine position. So remembering that chocolate mousse that you're still hovering over. If you have space, you can circle the arms back around to the beginning. Keeping that center engaged. Connect the ribs to the pelvis with those 2 springs. Good, well done. Float the arms down. This time we're going to bring one leg up and lower. We're working into our scissors level 1 now. You can use your hands on your hips to maintain that neutral spine position. Breathing out to bring that knee up. Breathing in to return. So the knee wants to be directly in line with your hip, and your knee to your foot is in line with the floor. Breathing out, breathing in. If you want to add an extra challenge into this, we can float one knee up into tabletop position and take a breath in. As you breathe out, deepen the connection between your ribs and your pelvis and float the other knee up, making sure that your tummy stays flat when you do this exercise. And then tap the toe down and back up. Tap the other toe down. Just imagine that you're dipping your toe into some water to check the temperature, and then return. Breathing out, Breathing in. We're keeping that angle between the knees the same all the way throughout, and we're just moving from the hip joint like the hip is a hinge, like a door. Good, well done. If you want to add an extra challenge, you can take one leg down and put the foot down on the floor. Take a breath in and swap. Breath in and swap. Breath in and swap. Keep going. Good, well done. We're going to move into our upper abdominals and we're going to work on some abdo preps now. Take that cushion and pop it in between your knees. Take your elbows wide and have your head heavy in your hands. So clasp your hands around the back of your head, elbows wide, framing the face. We're going to sink the ribs down into the floor so the head and neck peel up and down. So breathing out, breathing in. So feeling the work in those abdominals as you come up. Maintaining a gap between the chin and the chest. And giving those knees a squeeze to help to activate those muscles that cross over up into the abdominals. We're going to work into our obliques a little bit more, so we're going to take opposite shoulder blade to hip and down, coming up and over as if you're folding over a piece of paper. Good. For an extra challenge, you can lift your knees up. And we can come up into the abdo prep and then over into the oblique prep. And we can lengthen one leg, so we're coming up and over to the bent leg and then back down, not all the way down, and then come over. Float one leg down, float the other leg down. Well done, good. We're going to bring those heels towards the bottom. The cushion can go back in between the knees for shoulder bridge. Let's roll the hips backwards. So back to what we were doing with the pelvic rocks. We're going to roll the hips backwards, press through the heels this time and peel up into shoulder bridge, keeping the ribs heavy. And then peel all the way back down onto the mat, back into your neutral spine. Breathe in and then breathe out. Breathe in at the top, breathe out to move, making sure your gap between your chin and your chest stays the same. Thinking about every little vertebra, making an indentation on the mat as you come down. If you want to make this a little bit harder, you don't have to have the cushion there. You can put the cushion to the side. We're going to peel up to the top, press your heel down into the ground and lengthen one leg. Put it back down, peel all the way back down. Coming back up to the top, press the heel down, lengthen the other leg. If you feel your hips are dipping down to one side, when you lengthen your leg, so when I lengthen my left leg, I can press my left arm down into the ground. That will just help to activate the chain of muscles down into the glutes to help keep those hips level. If you're happy with that, you can come up to the top and you can lengthen one leg, put it down on the ground, and then lengthen the other leg. Place it back down. Keep marching the legs. soften the ribs and peel all the way back down. Take the arms out to the side, glue the legs together right to the feet and let the knees fall down to the side. Take the head and neck the other way. Bring the knees back up to the top. Let the knees fall down to the other side. Initiating the movement from around here, from the top rib, bring the knees back up to the top and allow that foot to have a little piggyback ride on the other foot. Breathing out to move, breathing in to hold, breathing out to come back. Bring those knees down towards the front and then roll over, ready for your side series. Now we've got those glutes nicely fired up, we're going to work them a little bit more. So we're going to line our side with your arm long in line with your spine. So check that your ribs are still connected to your hips with those two springs. Have the cushion in between your ears and your arm. And then just use your hand as a guide to feel that your heels are in line with your hips and your shoulders. Roll the hips forwards and backwards like you did at the beginning when we pointed at 12 and 6. Find that halfway point. Then send that top hip down towards your feet. So we create this little gap in that bottom waist crease. Light support through your hands. Squeeze the heels together. This time we're going to float the knee up and down, breathing out and in. Make sure those hips are tilted slightly forwards as if a light was shining out of there, down onto the ground in front of you. We're going to keep that hip perfectly still and your shoulders perfectly still. Breathing out, breathing in. You should be feeling some of the work coming from that top glute there. We're going to work different parts of the glutes. We're going to squeeze the knees together now and float the foot up and down. Keeping the shoulder down. Keeping the hips still. And now we're going to take the knee up and then rotate the foot all the way up and that back down to meet the other foot. So keeping that knee perfectly still. This time we're going to take the knees back down. This time take both feet up. Squeeze the heels together and float the knee up and down. Breathing out. Breathing in. Starting to really feel that work in that top glute there. Breathing out to float the knee up. Breathing in to lower. Good work, well done. We're going to bring that knee up to the top this time and pulse, breathing through, breathing in, 3, 4, 5, breathing out, 3, 4, 5. Keep going, breathing through. Good, well done. This time keep that knee still and then lengthen that leg and then fold. And lengthen and fold. Keep that top hip perfectly still. Keep that thigh perfectly still. Keeping that center engaged, keeping those hips still. Last one. And then we come down and back up for 3 and 2 and 1. And then come back down, bring that top leg in, have a little breather there. Bring your knees back together, then take them a little bit further away so the angle is a little bit more straight from your body to your legs. Lift that top leg to hip height and slide your knee to your chest and slide it back. Breathing out, breathing in. If you want to add an extra challenge, you can lengthen that leg, point the toe to come forwards, point the knee to come back. So stick to the level that you feel comfortable with. To make it even harder, to make it a little bit more of a challenge, you can lengthen that leg. Leg to hip height, forwards and backwards. You can place your hand on your hip. So sticking with the level that you feel comfortable with. And again, level 1, side kick level 1. Good, well done. Bring those knees back together, come up onto your elbow. Ready for side bend. Really good exercise that helps us get up off the floor and keeps those abdominals working into the side. You can have one hand on the floor if that helps, or you can have a hand on your hip to come up and down. So really lifting through here. You can use that hand if you want to. Come over, breathe in, and then breathe out. In to prepare, breathing out, breathing in at the top, breathing out. For those of you that want even more of a challenge, you can start with your foot over, your hand on your knee, hand down onto the ground, and we press that heel down into the ground and we come up and over. Breath in at the top, and then breathe out to come all the way down. So again, sticking at the level that you feel comfortable with. Just be careful if you've got any shoulder problems. Focus on keeping that shoulder down away from the ears, and it will help to activate those really important muscles that pull the shoulder blades down. Good, well done. We're going to come down onto the floor now. You can swap your cushion over for a chunky cushion if you can. So fold your cushion over. We're going to do arm openings, which is a lovely way to get some rotation through your spine and a stretch into the arms. Start with your arms forwards. Breath in to prepare. As you breathe out, float the arm up. Lock it in position to there, and then keep rotating. Keep that top hip still. Keep that top knee squeezed down onto that bottom knee. Breathe in at the end, and then breathe out to come all the way back. Keep that shoulder down away from the ears. Keep that center engaged. Keep that top knee squeezed down onto that bottom knee. Helps to keep that bottom half of the body grounded. Good, well done. Push up into side sitting. So make sure that you've got both sitting bones down on the ground. If you need to bring yourself level, you can pop a cushion underneath one of those sitting bones that brings it up to meet the other one. We're going to come over and feel a stretch all the way down that side. And then come down to the other side. You can swing the arm forwards, lead with the elbow and wind up all of those muscles as you lengthen that arm there. If this isn't a comfortable position for you, you could do this in high kneeling or low kneeling, or you can even sit cross-legged. Change the legs over. We're going to go away from the legs first of all. And then back down towards the legs for a deep, intense stretch there, leading with the elbow. Lovely work, well done. We're going to come down onto the other side. So again, have your arm long in line with the spine. The cushion in between the ear and the arm. Check your heel placement, they're in line with your hips and your shoulders. Rock the hips forwards and backwards to find that halfway point between the two. And then engage your center. Keep that center, keeping those hips perfectly still. Keep those ribs connected to the hips with those imaginary springs, and bring your hand just in front, light support through your hands. Squeeze the heels together and float the knee up and down, breathing out and in. Feeling the work coming from that top glute there. Keeping that top hip perfectly still. Good, well done. This time squeeze the knees together and float the foot up and down, just working on some internal rotation into that hip there. Lovely work, well done. Take the foot up, this time take the knee up and the foot can go up and back down. So working through a whole range of movement there. Good, bring those heels back together and then take them up as if they're resting on an 8-inch stool, and float the knee up and down, keeping that center engaged, the shoulders down away from the ears and the ribs connected to the pelvis. Float the knee up and down, breathing out and in, feeling all of those glutes working at the top. And now take the knee up to the top and pulse there. So breathing through, 3, 4, 5, breathing out, 3, 4, 5, breathing in, 3, 4, 5, breathing out. Keep going. Lovely work, well done. This time we're going to bring that knee up to the top and lengthen the leg and fold. Imagine you're pressing a button on the wall and fold, keep going. Lovely work, well done. Come all the way down. Take those knees a little bit further away. Bring that top knee up to hip height. Slide it towards the chest as if you're just dusting the surface of a glass table, and then slide it back. So this is side kick level 1, great for running, great for getting those glutes activated. It's an added challenge because the legs floating around in the air in an open chain position. Remember the next levels. If you want to try the next level, lengthen the leg, toe point, heel point. So imagine that you're drawing a line with your toe and rubbing it out with your heel. And you can make this even more challenging by lengthening the leg and bringing those hands on your hips, that added challenge. Keep your hips absolutely perfectly still. Make sure your back is staying perfectly still, so we're not moving throughout into that anterior, forward or backwards tilt of your hips. Good, well done, excellent. Feet down. This time we're going to move into our side bend now. So have your shoulder down away from your ears. Feet aren't quite bent or straight, just kind of in the middle. So remember, we have level 1. Can make it a bit easier. You can bring the arms up and over, making sure you breathe in at the top. And then remember, if you want to make it even more of a challenge for the shoulders, Hand starts on the knee and we come up and over. Breath in at the top and then all the way back down. So you're forming a straight line all the way from your head and neck right down to your feet. Good, well done. Coming back down onto the floor for arm openers. Or arm openings, they are actually called. We're going to bring our arms forward. So imagine you're making that crocodile's mouth with your crocodile snout with your hands, shoulders down away from the ears. Float the arm up to the top, lock it into place, and then keep rotating. Keep that hip still. Keep that top knee down on that other knee. Breathing out to move. In to hold, and then out. Keeping the shoulder down away from the ears. Good, put your hand down onto the ground. I'm going to push up into high kneeling. So in this position, check that your tailbone is tucked underneath.
Step 1 foot forwards and lean forwards, feeling the stretch down the front of the thigh, keeping the tailbone tucked underneath. Feel that stretch down the front of the thigh, keeping the hips facing forwards. If you've been sitting down a lot, you may feel a little bit tight into those front thigh muscles. If you want to increase the stretch, rotate over the bent knee. Take the opposite hand and place it on the outside of the knee and reach the arm away, the shoulder down, away from the ears. Breathing through. Return back to the center, place the knee down. We're going to stretch the other side. Place the knee forwards, keep the tailbone tucked underneath. Lean forwards, feeling the stretch down the front of the thigh. Keep the hips facing forwards. You can rotate over the bent knee to increase that stretch. Place the opposite hand on the outside of the leg and reach the other arm away, keeping the shoulder down away from the ears. Breathing through. Keeping the hips facing forwards. And then return to the center and place the knee down. Now we're going to lie down on our fronts with our forehead resting on the cushion. Reach your arms down towards your legs with the palms facing the legs. Find that neutral spine, so roll those hips backwards and forwards like we did at the beginning. Imagine you have a marble on the small of your back. We're going to roll it down in between the legs and then roll it back up the back. So find that neutral spine position. And then imagine you've got a little raspberry under each hip bone that you don't want to squash. Reach the arms down towards the legs. We're going to slide the shoulders down away from the ears and hover the arms off the floor. Feel that work in those lower trapezius muscles that are just below the shoulder blades, directing the shoulder blades down into the back pockets. Breathing out to reach and hover, breathing in to lower. To increase the work of this exercise and to get those upper postural muscles working, we can hover the breastbone off the floor. Check that you're not feeling any pinching in your lower back, and keep your head and neck in line with the spine. Imagine you have a third eye looking down into the cushion as you hover, and reach those arms down, directing the shoulder blades down into the back pockets. Feeling the work in those upper back muscles. Keeping the shoulders down away from the ears, breathing out to hover, breathing in to lower. We're going to work into the glutes now, so bend the ankles so the toes are in contact with the ground. The knees are slightly bent. Stay in that neutral spine position. Place the hands just where they feel comfortable. We're going to squeeze the glutes to lengthen the leg, keeping the toes still in contact with the ground throughout. So squeeze the glutes to lengthen the leg, and make a note of where you feel like your leg is going when you straighten it, because that's the position where you're going to go when we place our feet down onto the ground. So we're going to move into swimming level 1, where we squeeze and lengthen and lower. Think about lengthening rather than lift. Stay in that neutral spine position, remembering those little raspberries under each hip bone.
Down into the ground. Across your back, so we don't want to spill a drop. And keep those hips in that neutral spine position, and the arms, opposite arm with opposite leg. Imagine you're pulling on a piece of elastic there. Breathing out to come up, breathing in to lower. Bring those elbows bent into a stop sign position, and then take the arms up slightly above your shoulders. We're going to work into Cobra, which is a fantastic exercise to strengthen up those upper postural muscles. It's a movement that we don't do that much in life, so it's really important to take our bodies there with our core muscles switched on. We slide the shoulders down and we come up, keeping that tailbone pointing down. So you can just come up onto your forearms, making sure you can feel the work in here. If that's feeling okay and you're not feeling any pinching in the small of your back, keep that center engaged, keep that tailbone pointing down, and you can come up and then press those hands down, coming up into a cobra. Down away from the ears. And the head and neck are long right down to the tailbone. Good. When you come back down, push up onto your hands and knees. Have your knees underneath your hips, your shoulders over your hands. Point the tailbone down and bring the chin to chest. Send the tailbone out, bring the head and neck just to neutral, eyes looking down in between your hands. Breathing out, tailbone down, chin to chest. Imagine a piece of string is pulling your belly button up towards the ceiling. And then tailbone out. Keep the shoulders down away from the ears. Come to that halfway point between the two. Slide the leg through into a pigeon stretch. So we're stretching that glute that we've been working. Come down onto your elbows. If this doesn't work for you, you can stretch the glutes a different way by lying on your back and putting your foot on your knee with the knee out to the side and then just supporting the back of the leg. So working with a stretch that works best for you. Stretch the other side. So either like this, or into the pigeon stretch. Down onto the elbows there. Back on your heels in child pose with your arms coming forwards. Imagine you're pointing at 12 o'clock. We're going to move those hands to point at 10. Feeling a stretch all the way down the right side of your body. Back to the center. And then move the hands to point to 2. And then back to the center. Taking a breath in and out, feeling those ribs expanding as you breathe in. Feel that deflation as you breathe out. And then walk your hands towards you. Tuck your toes underneath and point your tailbone up towards the ceiling. Soften the knees if you need to. And unpeel the spine. So remembering that you have your feet hip distance apart, so feet together, toes out to the side, heels to follow. Float the arms up towards the ceiling this time and float the arms down, peel down bone by bone. Aim to come down to your left leg. Breathe in at the bottom. Breathe out to reset the spine, float the arms up towards the ceiling. Aim to come down to the right leg, peeling down bone by bone. Breath in at the bottom. Breathe out, keep going. This time when you come back to the top, we're going to shift those ribs from side to side. Now it's a sliding of the rib cage. So keep those shoulders level, keep those shoulders down away from the ears. So you can start with your hands on your hips and you can progress and to bring those arms up. If you have no problems with your neck, if your neck is absolutely fine, you can look up as you reach up. And then back to the center, breathe in. And out, and in, and out. Soften those knees, breathe in, and out. Well done.